right. Hello, Vaughn. Hello, everyone. Welcome to But First Football. Here
Hey,
we
Karen.
are, I think it's week 9, or we just completed week 8.
Yes,
We're,
I believe
we're
that's
like almost halfway through.
right. Yeah.
Holy cow. Why does this go
Uh,
so
I
fast?
saw something on Good Morning Football, maybe some show, and they were already doing midseason superlatives. So, yes, we're there.
We're there. We are there. It's going fast, too fast, in my opinion. But very interesting, as
Yeah,
always, and we will get to that. But we're going to start out with our fundamentals. And today you were going to tell us a little bit about the training room.
correct.
Hmm.
And obviously, the training room is designed to optimize player health. And it's not just about treating you after the fact. Part of their role is to help us pre-injury and hopefully avoid some of the nagging things, the soft tissue injuries, the pulls, the strains, that type of thing. And but of course, that doesn't start in season. That starts way back in the off season when you're by yourself at home, being on and look, you need rest after an NFL season because your body's just so thoroughly trashed. Uh, but at a certain point, before the off-season conditioning program starts officially with the team, the majority of guys start some regimen on their own, and there's plenty of guys who never stop; they just continue through. Um, and so, like I said, that starts in the off season, and then you work so closely with them. They're really one of the parts of the team where you get very close with them because you work so closely. Even if you're not a player dealing with injuries, they tape your ankles before every practice, before every game. There's certain things that, perhaps you have an injury from years ago and they help you with your braces and your sleeves and your, whatever little tape job you might need to get you through your day in terms of practice, in terms of the game. And so you do really form a really good bond. And I was super lucky to have great head trainers who had great staffs, and so you really get to know those people pretty
And
intimately.
are they all physical therapists, or are some of them physical therapists and then some of them are their assistants?
Well, see, and because now I don't know this world because like physical therapy, occupational therapy, athletic trainer, right? Like in terms of their designations, but they're all capable of doing whatever physical therapy you need to get you back from whatever injury you have. And of course, NFL um, training rooms have state of the art equipment. And
Oh
if they
yeah.
don't have some particular machine that could be beneficial to you, they have access to it.
Right. Yeah.
Now, like I said, we talked about the Bolt, what they're calling the Bolt, their new training facility. I'm sure it's just, like I said, state of the art, has every machine. But back in the day, when our facility, we didn't even have a facility when I first got to the Chargers. We were just in the bowels of the stadium. And so,
And they were bowels.
yes, yeah. And so sometimes, for some things, they send us over San Diego State or some outside resource to make sure that we got the treatment or the rehab that we required, that we needed. So, thinking back, we had one hot tub, no sauna, no steam room, none of that. And then in '94, my rookie year, we go to the Super Bowl. Miami had I think within a year or two, it just built a new facility. And so I remember the executives and the higher ups oohing and eyeing about, because that's where we practiced. We practiced at the Miami's facility. And then 3 years later is when we got our new facility, right?
You know
So,
what that reminds me of? I mean, we've talked about this movie before, but Major League, the baseball movie, when
right,
they're in the cold tub and they're using what is it, a power motor to get the jets running for
right.
like that's what the Chargers were like in the early 90s.
And so obviously I'm talking 1997. So at the time, we went from one hot tub, which maybe you could get 3 or 4 of us in at a time, right? To a hot tub that literally 20, probably
The
maybe
whole
even
team.
30 guys could get in the hot tub. And then we had a cold tub, which you could probably get 10 or 15 guys in one of the cold tubs. We had lap pools, so like I said,
Nice.
state of
That
the
is
art equipment. And it's funny, I think about my 2002 team when Marty Schottenheimer came over from, I don't know if he didn't come directly from KC, but that's where I knew Marty from. He came over from the Redskins. And that staff, for whatever reason, I'm not, look, ended up being one of my favorite staffs, but I think they got as much treatment as the players got. You'd walk in the morning, there was always a handful of that coaching staff on the training tables getting whatever.
Well, they were a little elderly, were they?
Yeah, a little bit.
One of the reasons I asked you was because, Elizabeth in her physical therapy school at the U, there's probably half of them really want to get into the athletic training side. And of course, the U, their football team this year is amazing, as we all know, but also their facilities are indeed state of the art. So, whoever goes through that program and ends up in the NFL, they certainly are getting a good experience at the U. Wow.
Definitely. And so, look, I one of the things, you miss little things. And I think that's probably a lesson about life. Like it's the little things you kind of take for granted and you miss. And so in an NFL season, it's impossible for the training staff to treat everything that you have. You just can't go to them for every little ache and pain because there's too many. Everything hurts. And so some of that stuff you have to do on your own. Some of that maintenance you have to do on your own. Now, whether it's after practice, getting in the cold tub, whether it's before practice, getting in the hot tub, warm your body up, just little scrapes and scrap. And so, the training room was always a place I would go, and cotton swabs and Bactine and
Bactine.
Gauze, yeah. I'm probably
do they make that anymore?
Well, probably not, but a substance similar to Bactine, right? Gauze pads, right? Because there's always some little scrape, something's bleeding, and so you just I go to the training room and I grab a handful of stuff and then I just go do my own little mini surgery on whatever's ailing me, right? And then for the big stuff, right? Then you go to the training room and like I said, we always had excellent trainers, and I know some of the stuff that makes the news now is the protocols in terms of concussion. Mm-hmm. There's an independent doctor on the sideline, and some of the calls about that are made. And I know some, like most recently, the stuff with Tua and Josh Allen recently, there was some speculation that perhaps he could have been playing with the concussion. But by and large, for the most part, NFL training staffs are excellent. Now, here's something that's kind of more recent development as far as that goes, is that a lot of players, it's the division between labor and ownership, right? There's always going to be a certain level of distrust there. Hey, are they doing exactly what I need for my injury? Are they rushing me back too early? And so what's developed over the years. Now, I was the type of player, I just trusted the training staff. It never even occurred to me that they weren't giving me the right advice for my situation. Everything's obviously very personalized. So, hey, you've got this. This is what you need to do. It's a surgery. You're going to miss this long. And, unfortunately, I did miss 10 games in 2 different seasons. Once I broke my leg. Once I tore my ACL. But the one time where this was pertinent to me was in 2002. I tore my tricep in a game. And I was always paranoid about missing time. And so I let the training staff know. They gave me a brace, and I played 3 quarters with a torn tricep. Now, going on Monday.
I can't even imagine what that feels like.
And I just so happened to be playing against a player who loved going upfield, so he never knew. Like, he could never take advantage because that wasn't his game. Keeping it brief, they told me, look, you need surgery, you're done for the season. And so I suggested, well, what if I didn't want to be done for the season? So what we ended up doing, we came up with a game plan. I had the surgery. I missed a month, and I came back a month later, and I braced it. And basically, I just pivoted. I had a brace. I couldn't bend my elbow, and I just pivoted from the shoulder. And because we were, for the first time in many, many years, eligible to make the playoffs. Now, as it turned out, we still didn't make the playoffs, but we had a shot. So I wanted to come back and be a part of that, right?
Yes,
of course. So now guys have their own medical teams, and there's for certain body parts, there's certain well-known doctors throughout the country, and again, guys have access to them. Now, you can always get a second opinion, just like everyone can in their regular lives. And so, a lot of guys take those second opinions before just trusting what the team tells them. And I get that tension, especially now with the dollars that are on the line. Guys want to make sure they're getting the best advice, and so it's just more of a. And look, I don't think it's a problem. It's just different, right? It's different than what it was. And so, look, I'm always going to be a player advocate. I'm for players doing what's best for them. And if they feel more comfortable, hey, I know what you told me, but I'm going to go get this second opinion. And then sometimes it's collaborative and sometimes it's not, because everyone has their own little personalities or whatever. But that's kind of more of a more recent development.
So a quick question about that. So after the game.
Yes.
Is there then an appointment schedule? Do you know, does it, Vaughn, we need to see you Monday at 10 because we want to look at your tricep? Or does everybody just go back to the facility and kind of filter through? How does that work? Obviously, if it's a serious injury, that I'm sure is obvious what needs to be done. But how does that work?
It's kind of like by appointment. Look, they clearly know what's gone on in the game, and hey, this is a new injury. Well, the training room opens at this time. The doctors will be here at 10 o'clock. Because most NFL doctors all have other practices that they're part of, right? Yeah. Whether it's their own or some bigger medical group. So, the doctors get here at this time on Monday and, here's the list. This is where you'll slot in. We'll look at you, and probably before that, depending, maybe you're out getting MRIs, maybe you're out getting x-rays. And I imagine, we didn't at the time, but I imagine plenty of places have their own in-house MRI,
amazing. X-ray. It's amazing.
Right. And so then, something that people might have heard of, Victory Monday, right? Well, Victory Monday is where when you win on Sunday, you don't have to come in until Wednesday, which is nice, right? Because typically most NFL teams, you have a workout, corrections, and again, rehab and treatment on Mondays. But if you're healthy, that applies to you. But if you have any type of injury that you're being seen for, then there's no Victory Monday for you, at least in terms of you have to go into the training room, get your treatment. And sometimes you're kind of, it's not necessarily a requirement, but sometimes the expectation is you're going to get double treatments. You're going to get treatment in the morning. You're going to get treatment in the afternoon. And sometimes you might take some equipment home with you, give yourself a treatment at home, right? So,
wow.
so I get the kind of the sometimes where, because it's always trying to be optimized to get you back on the field, to get you playing, and give that team the best chance to be successful, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Training room. Wouldn't that be nice if everybody had a training room? Like if I, got off my Peloton and I went into the training room. Hello, I'm here for my treatment.
Well, and so very quickly, I know we want to move on, but very quickly, you can't make the club in the tub, right? The best ability is availability. And so sometimes, because they pay attention to who's always in the training room, right? I can remember when our new GM from Buffalo came in and there were TVs in the training room. And if I remember correctly, maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure he had the TVs taken out because he didn't want people being comfortable, right? Being in the training room, not being on the field, right? And so everyone has their weird little thing. There were times like my whole first 5-6 years with Chargers, if you had an injury and you were missing practice, you had to be out with your position group paying attention. Sometimes someone would throw you a question, hey, what just happened? Are you paying attention? A new regime came in and they decided that everyone who was missing practice had to be dressed for the dress of the day. So if we were in pads and you were missing practice, you weren't practicing, but you were in pads like everyone else, right?
Oh my gosh.
Because, and look, there's always going to be one or two guys who, that's their thing. I'm always hurt. I always have an issue. But for the most part, guys want to get out there and they want to be playing. It was just, I always thought it was so unnecessary. Sometimes it's like college and they try to play with you. It's just, it goes too far, but that's I'm on my soapbox now, so.
Well, we'll move from the soapbox into the
Yes.
football frenzy.
Yes.
So lots of interesting things happened last week. So I'll go ahead and give a start with the favorites, and I'll speak to the fashion first. Number one, I thought it was very cool of Baker Mayfield to come in wearing Chris Godwin's jersey. Um, I just did. I don't know. People seem to like that here. I thought that was pretty cool. So that was just a fun thing. But from a fashion perspective, I got to give it to Antoine Winfield Jr. from the Bucks this week. I guess I'm into this like little short, dressed up short look
Yeah.
right now.
You know
I
what?
seem to like
Now that
that.
you say that,
I
yes,
think this is the third
absolutely.
time I've picked it.
Yes.
But he had a nice pair of dressier shorts. He had a cardigan, very schoolboy, but really clean. I liked it. Again, I'm moving out of the like screaming logo and the head to toe thing for the most part. So that was a look that I appreciated. So those were my fashion faves. And then I would say that my football fave, I gotta tell you, I was so happy for Jameis Winston.
Yes.
And that win, I
Yes.
mean, no one saw that coming.
Yes.
So that was very cool.
I'll
That
tell you
was
what,
cool.
I kind of like him a little bit more now that I've heard some of his mic'd up content.
He's funny.
He's very funny, but like you want your quarterback to be loose and like, look, no reason for us to be tight out here. We're just gonna go win this thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What did he say? It was a good one. It's all over the place. You can't reach for the sky when someone's already on the moon or something like that. I mean, I love it. So those were my favorite things for the week. What about you?
Okay. So my football fave was the Hail Mary
Yeah.
in Washington at the end of the Washington Chicago game, and it just made me think about because so Saturdays is when we would practice our Hail Mary. We didn't do it live, but it would be a walkthrough, and I thought it would be interesting to just quickly talk about because that's exactly how that play is designed. It's designed to get a big bounce. So our play was called max rebound, maximum protection rebound. And so basketball concept, right? And so so max protection would be the 5 offensive linemen, the 2 backs would stay in, make sure there were no leakages. And most teams seem to rush 3 to 4. So if they rush 3, then you've got 3 double teams. So you should be well protected because you need time to let the guys get down the field. And then you've got the backs just in case anything leaks through. Well, if they don't see any color to hit, then they leak out, into the pattern. Now they're not in the end zone, but just as an outlet, just if you need to do the fumble rooski, pitching it and all that type of thing. Well, the receivers, there's a designated guy that is the rebound guy, and so his job is to tip the ball, it's not to catch it. And
Mm.
now there's certain situations you've certainly seen Hail Marys that the ball just falls into the receiver's hand, and that's being about your spatial awareness. Well, are there people around me? Am I in the end zone? Am I a yard short of the end zone? Am I 5 yards short of the end zone? So certain times that's probably more appropriate if you can do it. But ideally, the ball comes down, the rebounder tips the ball up, and then one of your guys catches it. Now, well, so that was my fave because I loved it because it was like textbook.
It
Although,
was
yeah,
textbook.
yeah. It was textbook how you get the
Jaden
touchdown.
Daniels, he had like all day. He
Yes,
had all day to throw that ball. And I know they were giving that one Bears player a hard time because he was like
yeah,
looking at the crowd and stuff, but he actually was the one who like got in there and thought he
it
made
did.
I mean, I thought he did something good, but yeah, that was an incredible play.
But I
Incredible.
haven't thought about max rebound, and I can't tell you how long, right? And so I just thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody thought that was cool. I mean,
Yeah.
that was like the talk of the week, really.
Yes.
I mean, that and Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
So we're right there with everybody else on our favorites. So frustrations, you know what I'm going to say. that
Oh,
freaking Bucks
yes.
game.
Yes, 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 yes.
So, just a couple of things about that. Number one, Kate Otten on tight ends day actually had a great game. They actually,
Right, tight end.
were utilizing him, which was nice. But here is my biggest frustration. There's two. Two. One is, where is our defense? Where did they go?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't there one
Mm-hmm.
anymore? I don't understand. How is Kirk Cousins, who is lame at best, sorry, why is he able to run all over us, literally running? He has no Achilles. So that's the defense. But why did we go away from the play calling that was working? The score was tied 14 all. We had a 9-minute drive where we were running the ball and running the ball and running the ball. We did not utilize Sean Tucker, who was the NFC player of the week 2 weeks ago with 144 yards in a game. And all of a sudden, we decide we're going to throw passes to our third, fourth, and fifth string wide receivers. And Baker does indeed need to get his eyes checked because, again, the interception thing was happening.
Yeah.
But why were we even doing that? What in the heck happened?
I got to tell you, offensive play calling is so much more art to a certain degree than it is science, right? And it's feel in the moment and who's got the hot hand and Baker, what do you like? And I know this is what I'm thinking. Well, no, Baker doesn't like this. He wants this. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's no one reason why they go away from something that seemingly is working. Like I'm sure, hey, this has been working. Now we're because sometimes you're running plays not for the moment necessarily. Look, you want every play to be successful. Sometimes you're trying to set things up for later. Hey, we're going to run this. I want, the guys up in the box are paying attention. What did the safety do on that? Oh, perfect. This play is set up off of that play we ran way back in the first quarter. We're going to set them. So sometimes they're trying to get to things that they've set up earlier in the game. So it's no, I get what you're saying, because from the fan perspective, you're definitely like, hey man, this thing is working. Keep doing it.
They ran the ball 9 times in the second half. I mean, recipe for disaster if we're just going to throw to McMillan and Jarrett and guys. I mean, I'm glad we have them, but we don't have our A game. So why in the world? And I even said to James at the beginning of the game, I said, I'd like to see him throw something down the field to see what we got. Yeah. But I didn't mean everything.
Look, I'm an offensive lineman by heart, so you're never going to hear me complain about running the ball. Like if we could run every play, that's what we prefer to do. So I feel you. I'm with you, but you just never know exactly why they're trying to get to something.
It sucked. That's all I can say. Well, that was my frustration. What was yours?
Okay, so my frustration was the Hail Mary play.
Oh.
And because here's the thing. It's not a coincidence that the player for the Bears who was taunting the stands, celebrating before the game was won, it's no coincidence that now here's the other part. I'm not sure if it was his responsibility, but you're taught in those situations as a defensive back, you don't let any receiver get behind you. And clearly the Washington receiver was behind every Chicago defender. So there was a bust there. Now, I don't know if that was his responsibility. However, he was the one who tipped the ball up, and they are hammered. Do not. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got it wrong. So he tipped it into the guy's hands.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
he tipped it, and you're taught, don't tip the ball up, bat the ball down into the ground. And so, and he was late to the play, 4 seconds late, and he mistimed the jump. And so he was underneath the ball when he was trying to bat it. So my frustration is that I don't think it's a coincidence that the guy who was doing the pregame antics gets to the play late is the one who screws up the execution of the play, because he was in position to make the play. Hey, he got to the ball first. He could have batted it down, but because of the antics. So there's probably, look, and this is just how human nature works, but definitely how NFL football coaches, GMs look at things. hey, are there other things in this guy, the way this guy's going about things, that I'd be surprised if there aren't other issues. Like, and who knows what it could be, but it's
Yeah.
just, just one thing definitely. So that's my frustration. Just, look, the game's
Yeah,
not over. Pay attention. Be a it's about being a professional, right? Maybe he's a young
for
player.
sure.
Hopefully he'll learn from this, right? But it's just, and this is just a lesson for everyone. It's not a coincidence that he screwed up twice on that play.
Well, and what's interesting too is, he's celebrating and taunting the crowd. That was an ugly game. There really wasn't much to celebrate for the Bears in that game. That was not a good game. That
Yeah.
was a messy, ugly game.
Yeah.
So if they were able to get out of there with the win, it would have been more like a whoosh instead of a ha ha ha,
Right.
Yeah, that was interesting. So the flop.
Yes.
My flop this week is Anthony Richardson.
Oh,
I cannot believe, excuse me, that anyone, let alone a quarterback who is supposed to be the leader of the team, would actually, and okay, I understand he wanted to be honest. He wanted to be honest when they asked him, why did you take yourself out of the game? I was tired. That's just, I think there's, how many people, 53 men on that field who are tired.
Yep.
So I thought that was really horrible. And I am not surprised that Flacco is starting this week. But you want to be honest, I understand, but you got to think of your teammates. And that just, to me, that's, if I was his teammate, I would go, what? That you're quitting on us. Like, that's what it would feel like to me as a teammate. So I just felt that was a big flop. I know he's a young guy. People are like, oh, he's very young. Give him, no. Anyone should know better than that.
I'll tell you, there was just a million points of failure in that whole situation. He should have been a better actor. He should have stayed down longer, let the training staff come out. He would have whispered exactly what he said to them. They would have kept it between them. They would have out for the play. He could have gone back in after he gotten the blow. No one would have been any the wiser. But it's also where we are, right? Everyone puts all their business out on social media and everything. And so he tells the story and never thinking about the consequences about they're going to reevaluate where I stand with this team. And again, it's just about being a pro and making better decisions. And yeah, that just it looked weird, like because he was laying there, and then he kind of popped up right at the end. I'm like, what? What is going on?
Yeah.
And you're right, because there are older guys on that team who don't have next year. This is it for them. Right? And so I'm always sensitive to that. So yeah, it was an ugly situation.
You got a flop?
I got a couple, and I fought with who I was going to go to, but I love banging on the Cowboys. So my flop is the Cowboys, right? And it's, again, Jerry is excellent businessman. He made his money in oil. He took that money and turned it into the most valuable sports franchise on the planet. And so they're always relevant from that standpoint. Football-wise, they haven't been relevant in 30 years. They're a mediocre team. They play that way.
Yes.
And it's just they're just not good at the look. No matter how much you try to change the rules, make players safe, football is a sport about big men moving other big men out of the way, and Dallas doesn't do a good job of that on either side of the football. They don't run the ball very well. They don't stop the run very well, and it's difficult to do that because Dak isn't the type of quarterback who can throw the ball 50 times a game and you're going to win, and to the point that they don't have the offensive talent to do that either. Even if he could, they don't have the offensive talent to do that around him. And so it's just it's a failure at every level. Jerry's the general manager. He's in charge of bringing the players in. He didn't do a great job this year, it appears. And then the coaching staff, look, they can only make the meal with the groceries they have. But there's some disconnect between the players, the coaching staff, Jerry, and they're just awful at a lot of things. There's really nothing that they do very well at this point. And
you know what's shocking though, Vaughn? They're still like in the middle of the pack on the power rankings. Why?
Yes.
They're horrible.
Because they're 3-4. So if they went on a run, I think it. Remember, I was talking a couple weeks ago about skating judges who kind of hold scores. I think analysts are holding hope that, hey, they can turn it around if this goes right, if that goes right. But these are fundamental things that don't just. There's no quick fixes for not being able to stop the run, right? It's not just Micah Parsons comes back and all of a sudden we're overnight a better run defense. It doesn't work that way, right? It's just it's built on, there's a lot of want to. You need a lot of want to from the players. And look, I haven't studied Dallas enough to know if it's scheme, if it's only players. It's all probably a combination of it all. But yeah, they're a hot mess right now. And yet they're still 3-4, and they could turn it around. But odds are that they won't.
I agree.
Look, at least.
Well, I think that's a good flop.
they could because look, Washington has a young quarterback. Who knows what could happen? They could screw around and end up in the playoffs, but they're not gonna have a deep run. They're not gonna beat the good teams. Put it that way.
Yeah. Well, I would agree with that. So we're wrapping up real quick. Next Friday night on November 8th, I wanted to let you know that James and I are volunteering at Mike Evans' gala event.
Oh, nice.
Which is at the Hard Rock Casino and Hotel here. So I'll be able to tell you all about that. That's next Friday night. So that should be kind of fun. And Chris Godwin had his gala event, and poor guy was there on one of those scooters. But he wore a short suit too. He wore shorts and a short suit. I'm telling you, I'm all about the short suit. I'll find a picture of that. But anyway, tonight there's a game, Jets and Houston.
Yes.
So that should, who knows? So we'll have more to talk about next week.
Yes.
And probably not the Jets. So thank you everyone for listening and to watching But First Football. So please follow us, like us, subscribe to us. And Vaughn, good to see you. Ashton, love ya. And we're out.
Okay.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.